So without further ado, let me introduce Professor Wong. He's not only a professor of business at NUS, but he is also the head of the Entrepreneurship program, and an incredibly dynamic and great sponsor of innovation. And I couldn't be more proud to have him talk about what he's doing in sponsoring TechSG. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. As you have heard from our minister yesterday and from the panel this morning, a vibrant entrepreneurship ecosystem is critical to achieving the vision of Smart Nation. The simple idea I'd like to share with you today is that a smart innovation information platform is critical for us to build a vibrant entrepreneurship ecosystem. Let us step back and ask ourselves, what makes an ecosystem vibrant? Of course, it's very complex, but I'd like to boil it down to two fundamental factors. First is the diversity of actors in the ecosystem, and secondly is the density of connectivity among them. We need a whole set of ecosystem actors beside the entrepreneur to make the system vibrant. We need the investors, whether they are angel, VCs, or corporate investors. We need the co-working space, we need the accelerators, we need the incubators, we need the universities to produce the technologies, we need the government agencies to provide the commercialization support and the policy program that is conducive, so on and so on. What is important, however, is not just that you have this diverse actor, but how they are able to interact closely together. Because it is through the constant information flow and knowledge exchange among the actors that really make the system dynamic. So we need an information system that is smart enough to capture and enable diverse and deep links among the ecosystem actors. It is with this goal in mind that we in NUS Enterprise has embarked on a project working in collaboration with a new data analytics startup called Wonder Labs and with sponsorship from IBM. We call it TechSG. The goal of TechSG is to provide not only the most comprehensive and up-to-date directories of Singapore's tech startup ecosystem players, but more importantly, to provide an open wiki platform that allows us to track and enable links among the ecosystem's key players. Who started what company? Who invested in whom? Who facilitated which companies? Which government agency program had contributed to which startup and to which of the investors? This is the homepage of TechSG. As you can see, we have now captured information on over 1,800 startups, close to 2,000 founders, over 200 investors, and about 60 over different types of facilitators. With this comprehensive information now, we can begin to generate analytical insights about how our ecosystem works in Singapore. For a start, we can compare how Singapore ecosystem works compared with those of London and New York City, which are two of the most entrepreneurial hubs in the world. As you can see, there's an interesting contrast here. The startups in Singapore, there's a larger proportion of them in the biomedical sectors and also in the software, IT services, and solutions sector. In contrast, London and New York City have a larger share of startups in the media, entertainment, lifestyle space, and also in the internet, mobile, and e-commerce space. We can do this comparison not just at the aggregate sector level. You can drill down to the subsector that is of interest to you in particular. For example, this table shows that Singapore's high proportion of biomedical startups happen not just in biotechnology, but also in healthcare and medtech. And incidentally, we now have enough information in our database that we can generate statistics that are actually quite compatible with the overall national statistics that you get out of the Department of Statistics, showing that we can have high confidence in the data that we have. One challenge with many past research about Singapore ecosystem is that they look at a small number of startups, and so therefore the finding may be flawed. We believe that this is the most comprehensive data that you can now start mining. For example, you can look at differences in the profile of startups that come out of different subsystems. This chart shows, for example, that the spin-off from A-Star and NUS, which draw on the intellectual property of these respective institutions, have a very different profile from those that are funded by VCs and angels in general. For example, spin-off from A-Star and NUS have a larger share in biomedical and healthcare and engineering and hardware, while those that are funded in general by the VC and angels have a much larger share in internet, e-commerce, mobile, and software and IT services solutions. It's interesting to note also that the NRF-supported TIS, ESBF-funded startups are actually closer to the general VC angel than those to the deep technology spin-off from A-Star and from NUS. We can also look at the contribution and role of individual facilitator in the ecosystem. This chart, for example, shows you the profile of the role of 5 of the largest facilitator in Singapore's tech ecosystem. It shows, for example, that NUS Enterprise have contributed to 473 startups that we incubated them in either Block 71 or on campus. And of these, 135 are actually founded by alumni of an educational program that Dr. Lily Chan had mentioned this morning, which is the NUS Overseas College Program, where they were sent overseas to intern in high-tech startups around the world, Silicon Valley, Beijing, Shanghai, Israel, and so on. I should take this opportunity to highlight that the data that we gather in TechSG are all drawn from public sources. So if there are startups that are not disclosed to the public, so it may not be in our system. So that may explain why, for example, the number in our system for National Research Foundation funded startup is lower than the number they report, because some of the startups are not disclosed in detail. I should also add that we cover only startup in the tech space. So SMU, for example, have many other startups, but they are not in the tech space. Finally, we try to cover only startups that are still alive. We try to remove those that are no longer in the system. This may explain why there are some differences. I can move on to talk about the profile of the entrepreneur. This chart shows, for example, that over 40% of the founders of Singapore-based tech startups have their highest level of education outside Singapore, particularly in US, UK, and Australia. And of those that have the highest education in Singapore, 3/4 are from NUS. I hope these snippets of information will whet your appetite about the kind of data that you can mine, information you can mine from the system. But as I had mentioned before, what is most interesting, I believe, about the system that we are building is that it not only gives you the profile of the various ecosystem actors, but it reveals you the link among them. So just to give you a sense of how you may navigate the system, you can, of course, click on any of the buttons and see in this case, the startup. But you can also, of course, go and key in the information about any startup. So in this case, I key in the startup 99.co that I know. It is a startup that as you can see here, the detail is that the founder is Darius Cheong. You can click on his name, and it will call up Darius Cheong profile. It shows that he's founded 3 companies, and he's an angel investor in 4 companies. You can click on one of the companies that he's an investor in, Carousel, and here you can see who are the other investors in this company. And let's say you click on one of the investors. In this case, it's Quest VC. The system will call up Quest VC, and now you can see which are the other companies that Quest VC has invested in. And so let's say we pick one of them, Burper, and it will call up the profile of the company. And now you can scroll down, look at the detail, and here you can see that He's actually an alumni of the NUS Overseas College program. And let's say you click on that, and now it tells you what are all the other companies that have been founded by other NOC alumni. So I hope this gives you a flavor of the kind of navigation that you can do to find interesting information. I won't have the time to sort of go through the detail, but here I just want to highlight that this TechSG also provides the largest depository of research report about Singapore's tech startup ecosystem, and it also provides you with the latest information about events and news about the Singapore tech startup landscape that you can also learn more about. I don't have time to go through other interesting information for you, but I just want to highlight that this is still a work in progress. And for example, we are now overlaying information about patent and trademarks onto the database. So you'll be able to link to see who generated what IP. We are providing text for startups to indicate the resources they are looking for, whether they are recruiting, whether they are fundraising, whether they are seeking mentor, and so on. So for example, an investor and job seeker can just use the filter to look at only the startup that they're interested in. We are also providing geographical mapping, and eventually you have the open source analytic tools to do your own data mining without coming to us. So the key idea here then is that it is a portal that is for the community. It's for you. So I now want to make an open invitation to the community to go and update your profile and links on the TechSG. And if your profile is not in, do enter your profile and links. And do use us as one of your channels to distribute information about your news and activities about your organizations. And of course, you can also use it to participate in our survey. In fact, I'd like to take this opportunity to announce that we are just launching a survey of tech startups in Singapore. So for all those tech entrepreneurs out here, please participate in the survey. You can just go to TechSG and click. Yeah? It will lead you to the survey site. You get a $10 shopping voucher. And of course, we want you to give us a brief list of what are the things that you want to look for. Because we are here to serve the community. This will stay as an open depository for information. It will be free for all. And on that note, I want to sort of end by saying that Smart Nation require smart connectivity, and I do hope that TechSG will contribute in some way to developing this smart connectivity. Thank you very much.